Welcome to the Mojo Market Report. Here's your hosts, Dave Sturchio and Chris Gueci.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode and edition of the Mojo Market Report right here on a Tuesday. It is Tuesday, April the 11th, 2023. And of course, your host, as always, Dave Sturchio, Chris Gueci over there on the other side of the room, a.k.a. a stone's throw.
I feel very uncomfortable right now.
Why? What happened?
Well, nothing to do with you.
Oh.
It's not always about you, Dave.
It's always about me.
I do not have my laptop today. And it's
Dude,
also,
half the time you have your laptop, it's dead anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No, it's
the
like,
presence, is it aesthetics? Like seeing my laptop
it would be
here?
like, I'll give you an
obsession?
equation here, or a similar situation to compare it to. It would be like, all right, maybe if you don't have your best shirt on, sometimes my laptop isn't working.
Okay.
But it's there.
Okay.
So I feel good about myself.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All
It's
right.
like, it's like wearing a shirt. So I
This
might
is
not
fair.
have my best shirt on, but if it has a couple holes in it, at least you don't see my yitties. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I got it. All good. Well, that's how we're starting off this Tuesday morning. Hope everybody's doing well out there. It is play-in, playoff night tonight. We got two games to discuss, pick, predict, all that good stuff. But first and foremost, there was one breaking story that came over Adam Schefter, and that was the third overall pick. What about it? What about it, Chris? Well, it seems to me that there are reports that there's at least six teams that are calling about the third overall pick right now, because obviously we know the one is the Panthers, the two would be the Texans, and now the three, as it stands right now, are the Arizona Cardinals. So now, Chris, I ask you, what teams are making these calls? Because there's no actual report of teams.
I feel like the fairly obvious.
Are there obvious? There's some dark horses, I'm assuming.
I would say that the obvious ones are the Titans.
Titans, who currently have a Tannehill and a Malik Willis.
The Titans.
Because what they're doing is they're going to trade up for a
Colts
quarterback.
and the Raiders, I think, are the three that are legitimately in the mix, and I'd say that they're the most likely of the three.
The Colts are only one back,
one of
so
those
it's right
teams.
there.
The Titans, even if they're not serious about it, which I think that they are, they're going to make that play just because if the Colts want to jump up a spot, you would think, like, what do they really have to give up to jump up one spot? Well, other teams in their division, which I'll get to in a moment, other teams in their division, i.e. the Titans, should be highly interested in at least getting in the mix to drive that price up, which I do see happening. And if they happen to land on a deal, then it works out for both squads.
Okay.
Meaning the Cardinals and the
I'm with you on the Colts because right now, as it stands, Gardner Minshew is QB1 over there. Not to say that's bad. They could win games with Gardner Minshew. We've seen him do work in the NFL, but I don't know if that's like, you can't build a franchise around Gardner Minshew right now. So for them to move up, so basically every team that's called the Cardinals is trying to jump the Colts to get to Anthony Richardson, my guess, right? So now the Colts are like, well, hold on, man. Like, we can't do that. What if the Colts, if they covet Anthony Richardson, they got to make that
move. Well, the Colts
move.
can make the move. I think that the fact that the Colts are in on a quarterback, whether it's the 3 or the 4 pick, I think that the likelihood of them taking a guy, even if they miss out on the 3 pick, is there a quarterback there at 4 that they take? I don't know. I think that puts them in a really tough spot.
Is that a stretch for Will Levis? Like, is that a stretch
It is a stretch to go 1, 2, 3, 4 at quarterback. But
Has that ever happened?
If that's where the Colts are at, that might be like what they have to do. That's
I
why
think
see
Jim
them
Irsay is
ponying
going to
up.
pony up.
I think he
he
tries to
would.
pony up, but
Who else?
If there's 5 other teams involved, which we've only talked about 3 potential other teams,
Which are layups in their given quarterback situation.
correct. I think that the Falcons are in the mix potentially.
After they've gone public and said that A, they're not in on Lamar, and B, they're in on Desmond Ridder. All of a sudden, they're going to be in the convo?
So Ridder, obviously, you're giving him the keys out of the gate. I don't know that that's the best thing for their
See the
situation.
picture that came out of Ridder yesterday? No, that's not Ridder. That was Trey Lance.
Trey Lance. But then did you see the comments
I
underneath
mean, I
it?
saw plenty of comments, yeah.
And then it was like, you forgot about Desmond Ridder, Patrick Mahomes, senior. And it's Desmond Ridder because he looks even older than they do. But yeah, and then the Commanders, I think, are a potential.
Commanders right now, I believe, well, they got rid of Tyler Heineke. They got rid of Carson Wentz. Sam Howell's been sort of named their starter, but not necessarily. They signed somebody else, and I can't put my finger on it.
The point being is that there's an open competition for quarterback job in Washington right now. So you would imagine that that's potential. 5 teams out of the gate that were like, okay, they need a quarterback. It would make sense for them to do it. There's another team in the mix that I think that the Colts wouldn't be upset if this actually happened, because I do think there's potential here that
Jacoby Brissett. Sorry.
I think there's potential here that the Texans
and Jake from State Farm. Go ahead.
The Texans get involved. And I don't know that they're going to be able to
Texans.
pony up. Yeah, because they're not going to be
Who
looking-
hold the number 2 pick.
The Texans hold the number 2 pick. I think that there's a real chance that they also hold the 11 pick. So there's a chance that if they're looking for that cornerstone left tackle or they're looking for that edge rusher and getting the best quarterback in the draft, in their opinion, if they get who they think is the number 1 quarterback in the draft, and then also getting the best lineman or the best tackle, that could be a real win for them. But the thing that I have a hard time saying that they're going to probably make that move is because they're only coveting another position that's not a quarterback, there's going to be other teams that will be willing to give up more to move into that spot.
From what I've read, the Texans have like 12 picks this
They
year's
have 12,
draft.
and then for the Colts' sake, they would be like, oh, wait, the Texans are going to make that move? Okay, they just picked a quarterback at 2.
Very, very, very good point. That's a
Or-
very good point, actually. I didn't even think about that yesterday when we were talking. So if the Texans already got their guy, the Colts could sit back at 4 and say, well, our guy's still going to fall to us because they're not going to take back-to-back quarterbacks. This isn't Kirk Cousins and who else did they draft that year? Kirk Cousins was drafted after
RG3.
RG3. It's not that situation
Wow,
where you would
that's
take 2
actually crazy
quarterbacks.
that you're saying that. There's precedent there with Kirk Cousins and RG3 in terms of 2 quarterbacks being picked in the same draft. There's also precedent with the Redskins or the Commanders, but at the time the Redskins, they were the team. They're the only team that ever had 2 picks in the top 3 back to back.
We had to Google that.
Yeah.
I had to Google that because I was like, was there any team
2010,
ever?
Chris Samuels and LeVar Arrington were picked 1 and 2 and 3 overall by the Washington Redskins.
So that's only happened as far as top 5. I know there's plenty of teams with the top 10, 2 top 10 picks. We saw the Jets with it last year. We saw the Giants with it last year. But now, so you've said the Texans, is that your dark horse team? Like, is that your team that could make a play?
Look, they're a team that I think is in the mix.
Okay.
I don't know that they're going to be able to pony up for that position that they're after because they're just going to draft a quarterback. If there's something like they take a tackle or a D end with the 2 pick, that doesn't make sense to me because then they're going to put themselves in a position to have to trade up for the quarterback.
They're going to get their guy
They're going to get
first.
the quarterback first.
Right.
Or to get the trade worked out prior to so they could just take who they want when they want. But
I
I
do
think the Texans might be a potential team because they have the capital, and it doesn't always have to be for a QB on a trade up.
Now, I'm well aware that running backs are not at a premium anymore, and people, for whatever reason, just don't like running backs, don't like paying running backs. Running backs don't matter, according to sources. But I think there's a team out there with a trade piece and their draft capital to make this move for a future move, meaning the 3rd overall pick could potentially be Anthony Richardson, and I don't know if this team that's drafting this guy is going to necessarily need him to start right away. And I'm talking about the Minnesota Vikings. Now, we've seen Kirk Cousins be their quarterback for X amount of time. How far can he go? We've seen it so far. Have we seen the absolute ceiling of Kirk Cousins? I don't know. I don't know. But could they sweeten this deal by...
I know for a fact that we definitely have seen the ceiling of Kirk Cousins. Is he getting better?
I mean, he keeps putting up these gaudy numbers, to be honest.
Let's see what he would do without arguably the number 1 receiver in the game.
What would any quarterback do
And
without
that-
the
and
number
the-
1 receiver in the game?
I mean,
they would digress.
I'll tell you exactly. So it's like
But now he still has Jay Jetta. He lost Adam Thielen,
I
right?
think
But it could be
Jefferson
Osborne's season this
is
year.
like setting yardage records, right? Almost guaranteed that he's got the most yards over three seasons to start a career, right? I would almost guarantee that. I don't know.
Sure,
for
that
a
makes
fact,
sense.
But I would say yes, right? So you have the best start to a career by an NFL receiver ever. I think that helps a lot. In this case, it helps a lot.
Now-
I'm not knocking Kirk Cousins, and he is who he is, but I don't see Kirk Cousins getting better. So to the point, I know where you're going with this.
Could they sweeten a deal and add a Dalvin Cook, who they've been trying to move anyway?
I would be really, really surprised if the Cardinals, at this point, were willing to take on a contract that they're going to also have to re-up. You know, so Dalvin Cook, he has the wear and tear. He's coming off of shoulder surgery. He's not even fully ready to go right now. So trading for a player that you can't get in and give a real good evaluation on, I think that's the cold water on the Dalvin Cook.
He is
potential
28
trade.
years old. He is set to hit free agency. You would have Dalvin Cook. Technically, you would have Dalvin Cook all the way to 2025.
But
so,
how much?
The cap number's kind of crappy. It's like $15 million.
Yeah, so you're
But I mean,
getting
if you're looking at the Cardinals, who are they paying? Especially if they're trying to dish off Hopkins'
Yeah,
contract.
but they're trying to dish off Hopkins for the same reason that they would be then trying to dish off Dalvin Cook. It's
Yeah.
almost the exact same thing. Only one position is a premium in the NFL, and the other one is like, guys like Kareem Hunt won't be on a team to start the season.
which is
Zeke
nuts.
won't be on a team. And I'm not saying that Zeke or Kareem Hunt are even close to Dalvin Cook at this point, right? But at what point does it happen to Dalvin Cook, just like it happened to Zeke in the last 2 years?
Yeah.
Just like it happens to everybody in the last, as they hit 28 to 30, looking for that next deal, it's not going to work out for him. If the Vikings are able to pull that trade off, it will be one of the best trades in history because they're willing to almost outright release Dalvin Cook soon. That's the way I'm looking at the contract.
Yeah. I'm looking at free agency right now just for S's and G's. Not a lot of guys left, as far as the wide receiver market, as far as the running back market. I mean, the running back market, your best Fournette, McKinnon, Kareem Hunt still not with a team, Latavius Murray.
To me, the running backs are the
Zeke?
guys that you're going to be able to pluck late as you find a need on your team, as guys start to go down in camp. If I'm a running back, I'm going to sit. I don't want to be doing the OTA stuff anyway if I'm a vet, so it really has no bearing. Hand me the ball in the 2-hole. Oh, I have to protect on this one. Running back is not the easiest position to pick up by any stretch, but there's a lot of communication able to be had when the line goes up. You could talk to the quarterback. Like, the quarterback can kind of help the running back out so than any other position on the field.
Watch any NFL play ever. There's a lot of communication going. Either the center's pointing around or there's things like
But the running back has
an
an advantage over most of the other guys. When the offensive line lines up and you're new, you're kind of on your own because you can't see behind you. When you're the running back, you're almost like the catcher. You're behind everything. So you're in the same spot as the quarterback, able to assess things. And you could be like,
what's the snap count?
Where do I go?
So interesting. But 6 teams, you know what I mean? We talked about like 4. I'm very curious.
So no, Hendon Hooker to the Vikings later. Probably.
You like that? I've seen that. I didn't mean to say you like that in that context, but I did, and it happened.
I actually do. I love that.
But I was.
Let me get some Hendon Hooker in the division.
I mean that division gets even better with all young quarterbacks except for Goff.
Hooker's going to be good. So
really, he was about to win Heisman.
Oh right, don't care. College football and the NFL are different.
Yeah, just a little different. In any event, again, keep your eyes on this as we get closer to draft day. We are about 2.5 weeks away from the draft. So teams are going to start ponying up. Let's see if anybody else is dealt as far as star players. Hopkins has been in the news. We know that. We know the OBJ stuff happened, which, by the way, that was almost like a foregone conclusion together at the club the night before, FaceTiming that same night. Did you get home okay? Yeah, I got home okay. I'll see you guys later. What a fun time tonight. And then all of a sudden he's a Raven. So that happened. We'll see if that solidifies Lamar back there long term.
Lamar is
long term, I'm saying.
Raven.
OBJ signed a 1-year deal, man. I could foresee OBJ saying, just playing that
Either
franchise
way,
tag. We'll win a Super Bowl. You never know.
Even if Lamar signs on the franchise tag,
that's betting on himself.
And it's also saying, let's reopen the window here.
Forever. It seems
right. Like that once you sign the franchise tag, then they could negotiate a long-term deal, right?
It's over at July. You can't do it until the end of the year.
If you don't sign anything.
No.
So even if you sign,
it's done. Can't do it.
Either way, I still think Lamar signs a massive deal this offseason.
Well, it's got to happen. It's got to happen soon. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's going down tonight. Finally, the NBA playoffs are here. The regular season is behind us tonight, just so everybody's aware. Now, look, I had to re-educate myself 15 times about the play-in tournament, okay? Because I'm just like, the 7 will play the 10, the 8 will play the 9. Well, that's one wrong. 2, I'm just like, the 2 winners will go play each other on Friday. That's another thing that's wrong. So let me explain this to you guys as you're looking to make your picks tonight and make all your prop bets and everything that's get released over there on the Mojo Market tonight. Just keep your eyes on that all afternoon. As of right now, the market is closed as we record this show. So they're still coming up with the numbers, the overs, the unders. So keep your eyes peeled and ears to the ground. Set the notifications on your app. So anyway, tonight are the game 1s, okay? This is the 7s versus the 8s. Tonight we got the Hawks and the Heat, and obviously tomorrow night is the 9s and the 10s. So the Hawks and the Heat play in the East and the 7s and the 8s, and then, of course, the 7s and the 8s over there with the T-Wolves and the Lakers. Now we're going to pick this game. We're going to go over these games because if whoever wins tonight out of the 7-8 game is your 7 seed. That's a lock. That's done. It's over. Don't talk to me anymore about your seedings. You are the 7 seed, okay? The loser of tonight's game will move to Friday night to play the winner of tomorrow's games, the 9-10. So that's how that all works. And then that's why you get an extra opportunity, because why penalize the team if they finish 8th when technically they should have made the playoffs in your old format? So if you lose tonight, you got a shot at redemption on Friday night. We start tonight. We start with the Hawks. It's the first game on the dock. The Hawks are coming in as the 8. They visit the Heat. Yesterday, you said you're a Heat guy. That's what's going to happen. After doing some due diligence and some research, you're looking at both of these teams tonight as a tale of completely two different teams, okay? What the Heat have methodically done throughout the course of the year is slow the game down. You always sing the praises of Eric Spoelstra and how he can get guys going and how he can slow guys down. And that's what the Heat have done. They are actually 29th in possessions in the entire league, meaning they take that clock all the way down. They take their high percentage shots, sometimes not, but they don't need as many possessions as the other teams. Whereas the Hawks, when they fired their coach, Nate McMillan, at the halfway point, or even before the halfway point of the season, and they brought in Quinn Snyder from the Jazz, all of a sudden, the Hawks are an incredibly good scoring team, second in the league only behind the Bucks. Tale of two teams. The Hawks like to go on runs. You got Trae Young out there who could either be ice in his veins and the guy that's just completely going to ruin you. He was Broadway Trae last year against the Knicks, or 2 years, whenever felt like 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. It felt like, he could just take over a game. If he doesn't take over this game, it's bad news for the Hawks. But if he does, and the Heat are historically slower, I'm going to say right now, and you can probably disagree, I like the Hawks to upset tonight, to go on a couple runs, and Trae Young show up in postseason form.
I do not like the Hawks tonight.
All right, so next game.
No, I mean, I just think all the things that you were talking about, it lends to winning in playoff basketball. It's a little less likely in a one-game, one-and-done type of situation. Well, not one and done, but in this type of scenario, because if Trae Young gets hot and the Hawks hit their shots, when a team like that is able to hit their shots and shoot at a high percentage, they're just tough to beat because, that's just basketball. Any team that's hitting their shots is hard to beat. But what the Heat do, I think it's tailor-made for this type of matchup. When you get into playoff basketball, the teams that slow things down and play good defense, and they don't have to change much about what they've done all season long. This is kind of how they play. They're built to go deep into the playoffs, especially in the Eastern Conference. I mean, granted, there's some tough teams at the top.
Knicks.
But there's some tough teams at the top. I don't think that the Heat are going to make much noise, but against the Hawks, who, while they score 125 points a game, they probably give up 190, because I know for a fact Trae Young is not staying in front of anybody. And when it comes to, they're being led by Trae Young, who seems to be a little laissez-faire when it comes to his effort at times, as opposed to looking across the gym, and you got Jimmy Buckets, who's a playoff dog, right?
Dog.
You got Udonis Haslem, who's in his final season, in his year 20 season, and he just put up like
Jimmy Butler's second half of the season, 26-6-5. 26-6-5. So second half Jimmy and playoff Jimmy is much different than Jimmy Butler.
You want to talk about Quinn Snyder, all good. Spoelstra's been doing this for a while. I think he's in for a rude awakening when he thinks he's going to run his fast break or whatever, his transition game against this half-court defense. It's not going to work. And Bam is going to be a force.
All right, so you like the Heat. I'm in on the upset special on the Hawks in Miami. We'll see if that can go down. In the late window tonight, you have the Los Angeles Lakers as your 7th seed hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves, which, by the way, if it's official, Rudy Golbert has been suspended by, I believe, the team. I don't even think it was an NBA thing. I think the T-Wolves said, cool story, bro. You're not going to play in this playoff game, which is detrimental to this team because they're a completely different team when Karl Anthony Towns and this kid are on the court at the same time. But much, I could say, similar to the Los Angeles Lakers. When LeBron and AD are on the court together, the last time they did this was a full postseason a couple years back. They went 16-5, and they won the whole damn thing. So, if these guys are healthy, which right now they are, LeBron obviously battled back from whatever injury he had. I mean, I heard a pop, and he didn't. But he's back, and he's playing all world as of right now. They added a massive piece at the deadline that not a lot of people were talking about when they brought back D'Angelo Russell to the Lakers. Since then, when all three are healthy, on the court, at the same time, they're 8-1. Now, I know it's a small sample size, but on a one-game scenario like now, you have 3 stars ready to light it up. I'm sorry. I do not like the Timberwolves' chances in this game because, again, I look at that team up and down, and while Karl Anthony Towns being reinserted into the lineup really did jumpstart them again down the stretch, I don't see it. I just don't see it. Not in LA, not when the Lakers have a chance to go back into the playoffs as the 7th seed. And if they win, they'll be playing Memphis. You want to talk about a series, LeBron and Ja Morant. Are you kidding? That is what we want as NBA fans. If you're not a fan of the LA Lakers or you're not a fan of Memphis, you just want to watch good basketball, those are the teams you want to see. You don't want to see
Lakers
anything
are
else.
in a really good spot right now to advance and then advance again, the way things lined up, because I don't think that the T-Wolves have a shot.
I don't either. Well, they wouldn't. I mean, first of all, they would play again. No, they would win the 7th seed. You're right. You're right.
I don't think that Minnesota has a shot against the Lakers in this one because the Lakers have been playing lights out. Minnesota might be looking at the trade that they made at the deadline when they gave D'Angelo Russell to the Lakers as something that maybe they regret. But understanding what the contract was, they need to get out of it. I like the Lakers the way they've been playing. LeBron getting hurt allowed D'Angelo Russell to insert himself into the mix, and then LeBron kind of came in, and I thought they might struggle because LeBron's very ball dominant, but they've been playing obviously still good enough to keep it going. And then the second round matchup, Steven Adams is now out for the postseason, right? So Memphis is a little bit more beat up down low. There's some openings for the Lakers to make a push right here.
We said that 2 weeks ago, or whenever we started to talk about the play-in series. If the Lakers, teams like the Lakers and the Warriors, if they get hot, man.
We just saw what happened with the T-Wolves. They got guys breaking their hand, punching walls. 5 minutes later, there's an infighting situation. Kyle Anderson hasn't gotten a rebound in about 14 years. Gobert does block shots, but he's not going to be there to block any in this one. So, I mean, how could you really? I'll be surprised. We'll just say that.
Are you in favor of the decision to tell Rudy you're sitting in this big game?
I'm neither here nor there, and I'm not in the favor of it.
It's like
I'm not.
Find the man.
I'd be like, okay,
if you want any shot at
we
this,
got all offseason to figure this out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Who are they? I would say this, Kyle. Are we good?
We're good.
Could he play? And Kyle should be like, yeah, we're adults. This is what happens. I called him a bitch. That's what happens when you call a 7-foot monster a bitch. He's going to try to punch you. That's just the way it goes. So I'm neither here nor there.
Suspending the player right now is very
Who are you impressing?
Huh?
Who are you impressing? The commish? Let the commissioner do it.
Right.
You do.
And you know when the commissioner would do it? After the season.
You know who you're offending? All 11 of your fans.
Yeah, well, look, the Minnesota Timberwolves, like I said, after getting Karl Anthony Towns back into the lineup, they've played well down the stretch. They've put themselves in a position right now where they can grab the 7th seed if they can go in to LA tonight and get the job done. But I and Chris just don't think it's going to happen. You take away one of your better players. You got these guys playing together healthy. It's a recipe for disaster. This game might be over before it starts. You know, it might be halftime. We're like, man, oh boy. You know, like this one's just getting ugly. And LeBron might have one of those games where you're just like, okay, this guy can't be stopped right now. I am all for a Ja Morant, LeBron, future versus the past and the present or whatever you want to call it in the first round of the playoffs. And like you said, and like we've been saying, teams like the Lakers who are built like this, when they have health on their side for like the first time in what seems like forever, they can go on a run, man. And I know nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see 20-year LeBron get into the finals except this guy right here.
100% would be all, bro. The NBA, a lot of people, whether they want to admit it or not, even if you're a hater, that'll be great.
Oh,
are you kidding me? If the Lakers go to the finals,
this is why the Lakers
everybody
need to win tonight.
Will be all over that series, whether or not you're rooting against them or for them. It's gonna ignite the NBA if the Lakers go make a run. No question about it.
Absolutely. All right. The only way to do this and follow along tonight is if you download the Mojo app and, of course, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Follow along the entire time. There are going to be liquid props out the wazoo tonight. And, of course, the Discord is all over it. Join the daily conversation. That is the way to do it because, again, tonight liquid props come out probably around what I've seen – mid-afternoon. You want to get in on them now because they will fluctuate and they will change. And again, just like these props, and this, the reason why you can bet with Mojo every single night is because when you feel it, when you're feeling like you're on fire and you're at the peak, get the hell out of there and cash out. And then you know what? If you're feeling like a little froggy, leap right back in to that same bet at a different rate. It's crazy how this all works and how fast it all works. So pay attention tonight enjoy the NBA play-in playoffs. We're going to get 2 games done tonight. We'll preview another 2 and go over the way these ones played out tomorrow. And, of course, if anybody trades for the NFL draft picks and all that stuff we were talking about before, we'll cover you there too. Dave Sturchio, Chris Gueci. This has been another episode of the Mojo Market Report. Back here tomorrow on a hump day.